Hello everyone, we've got something new to show you for this video. Today we're going to be showing you the common behaviors of western hognose snakes, mature western hognose snakes, when they're introduced to each other for the purposes of breeding. I've got a couple pairs that I'll show you right when they're being introduced so you can see their common behaviors. This here is a male toffee conda. He's a little over 100 grams after cooling. And he's going to be going to a toffee female who's about 300 grams. It should be noted that we do try to make sure that our females are not in any kind of feeding response when we introduce the boys. It's not always possible depending on how strong the feeding response is of your females. Just be aware that, contrary to popular belief, female on male aggression during breeding is much more common with these guys than we previously understood. I think that's mostly due to the fact that these are generalist feeders. They're not specifically rodent feeders out in their native habitat. They're generalists. They will eat anything that they can overpower, including small rodents, lizard and bird eggs, lizards, small birds, frogs, fish, even other snakes, apparently, as anyone who has subscribed to our previous videos already knows. That being said, we'll show you some of the behaviors that you can expect when introducing these animals. Some things that you're definitely going to be looking out for with the females more than anything, because as you can see there's a huge size difference. Females that, as you can see, she has no feeding response right now. This is just initial meeting, and what you're going to see is females doing a very twitchy head bobby movement. That's kind of an acknowledgement of a potential breeding male in her territory. It's a very common, I don't want to call it a greeting, but again, more of an acknowledgement of a potential mate. And what you'll see is as this progresses, she may or may not show it, but females will get much more active and they'll actually raise their tails and start wagging their tails. And that's very specific to females who are ready to reproduce. The males, on the other hand, are typically somewhat calmer. They'll, for lack of a better word, nuzzle the females and start riding them around, literally on their backs. It's kind of funny to watch with smaller males with very large females because they're totally piggyback these girls. And then they'll eventually match up their tails and copulate. These guys don't have a big show for you right now. I just had a lot of information to give, so I wanted to do a calmer pairing before I show you some a little bit more active adults. But as you can see, that's a very common behavior with the female. That's not a feeding response. That's just an acknowledgement of a potential mate. And he, as you can see, is already, instead of avoiding her, riding her back all the way to the back of the tub. Just kind of ultimately trying to align himself with her. Another thing I wanted to mention is that these guys don't stay locked up for as long as other species. It's actually very uncommon to see them locked. The most common times that we've found or seen them locked up is going to be very early morning hours or later at night. Typically when it's calm and dark and there's not a whole lot of distractions or commotion going on around them. They don't stay locked for nearly as long as pythons, typically no more than an hour or so, whereas pythons are more commonly locked up for up to a day. Typically with these boys, we know that they're in the process of actively wanting to reproduce when they are hanging out with each other during the day. The males and females typically will be coiled around each other or in close proximity to each other for quite a while. We know that the boys, our males at least, what we found their behaviors is we know that they're finished breeding with the female when they're at completely opposite ends of the tub and are not interacting with the females at all. At that point, we remove the males and give everyone a break for a couple days. Our males and females are typically never together longer than 3 days, at which point we give them breaks, make sure the females are nice and full. It gives us less of a risk of them reacting to the males as a food item. So we give them larger meals. The males we just maintenance feed. We don't want the males sluggish because we want them to reproduce. We do want the females nice and full and happy so that they don't try to eat the boys. Alrighty, now that that's over with, we'll show you another pairing. We're going to let them get to it. So next up I have, you all know my personal favorite, our little snow boy. He's another proven breeder just like the last pair. He's about 140 grams post-cooling. I know we've mentioned it before, but at SoCalHerps we do brumate our Western Hognoses. We just find that we've had great success with doing that. I know not all hognose breeders do, it's just something that we do here. He is going to be going to his girlfriend of the next few days. She's a double het snow. She's approximately 280 grams. Typically females, you want them to be a minimum of 250 grams for reproduction. And you see, again, there's that behavior, a little bit of huffing from the female. You may or may not be able to actually hear it, but the females do talk or hiss a little bit as they're doing the head bobbing and body twitching. The snow is just smelling her water dish, smelling her tub, getting used to her scent. Another thing I wanted to mention is during breeding time, we do not completely clean our females' cages. We'll spot clean the worst spots, but it's very, very important for these boys to smell the female and smell inside the tub and know exactly what they're going into so that their instincts kick in. As you can see, there is a small mess in the front right corner of the tub that was left there on purpose. Again, we want these boys to smell these females. And of course, the most nerve-wracking part is when they meet face to face, because you know our history with big girls and little boys. But this is a proven pair. They've been together several times. They get along quite well. This female has never shown any aggression to him whatsoever. And because this isn't the first initial pairing of this season, they're not as excited or active as they were on the initial pairing right out of cooling. These guys are just getting reacquainted. Alrighty guys, so I have a more interesting pairing to show you guys. These two have already been paired up just about an hour ago. It's our Arctic pairing for this season, Arctic Conda to Arctic Conda. It should be noted, as you can see, there's going to be quite a large size difference between these animals. Males are able to breed, honestly, we've had success at even 40 grams, 35 to 40 gram boys are successfully breeding these girls. And she's, about 300 grams. This male here is literally 40 grams he was weighed at after we pulled him out of the, cooling. He's probably gained a little bit of weight. He's been fed a few meals since then. But don't discount the little guys. They are some of our best breeders before they get very large and almost lazy. These boys typically, they will go off food even if they haven't been cooled because they know that there are females around that are in breeding condition. And we've even had them go off food at even 30 grams and they just refuse to eat because they want a girlfriend so bad. So these little boys can be very, very good breeders. This boy has already done his job from what we've observed. It looks like this female is already growing eggs. This introduction is purely just in case. We introduce them as much as we can until we're 100% positive that our females are gravid and growing eggs. Usually we stop introducing once our females go into a pre-lay shed. So even though she's growing eggs and possibly already fertilized, we're going to continue introducing these boys at 3 days at a time. They're a little bit more active, as you can see, to ensure that we get fertilization and successful reproduction of these guys. I know that was a lot of information, everyone. It's more talking than I normally do, but I hope you found this interesting and entertaining. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything like that, please feel free to get in touch with us. As you can see, we're going to be having some, hopefully, Arctics again this year, as well as snows and other het snow things, toffees, toffee condas. We've got a lot of stuff cooking. We will keep you guys posted when we have animals that are up for sale. Until then, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to keep in touch on Facebook, Gmail, Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys.